This is VR Takeover. We film every Monday night, and then we bring it to YouTube every Tuesday, whenever, morning, afternoon, night, whatever. What's going on over there, AJ?
Just checking the time.
What time is it on your Without Parole wristband?
It's Game Cat time, baby.
That's right. And every week on Viewer Takeover, we take a look at some questions and comments and try to answer them for you. But first, man, we have so much stuff to talk about. I guess I should introduce you guys. AJ right here in the middle from PSVR Underground, doing reviews like a beast, man. And then we got Dave on the far left, doing I don't know what you've been doing. Have you been doing anything?
Doing vacation like a beast. Yeah.
Yeah. Although I'm off vacation now, I guess I gotta go back to work.
Oh, it's lame.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was working out a little bit earlier with that Ring Fit for Switch. It's pretty fun.
Ring Fit, Ring Switch,
Yeah.
what?
There you go. It's the next.
It's a game.
It's the next
Ring
big
Fit
thing in
Adventure.
VR.
You jog and then you go, and then you jog and you go, and then you do 20 squats. and you kill the
Resistance is
monster.
good training. I
Resistance
prefer the
is
shake
futile.
weight, though.
The shake weight.
Yeah, that's how you really build arm muscles.
Maybe they'll release an attachment for the Switch.
And of course, on every viewer takeover, we want to thank a bunch of the viewers for various reasons. First person we want to thank this week is Cloaked Reaper Games. He submitted that Apex Construct. I must have said Apex Legends. Viewer takeover introduction with all of our names. Dave, why was your name so goddamn small?
You know, I'm gonna have to talk to him about that because I feel like he's throwing shade a little bit. Your guys' names are really big, and
there's Dave's station.
I barely saw it. Yeah, no, you need
mean,
binoculars to see that fucking thing. It's so tiny, and I feel like that's what he thinks of my contribution. Which,
Wow. And
I was thinking to the size of our names, it's not cool, Cloaked.
Thank you, Cloak Reaper.
Next time I see you, man,
nailed it.
we're gonna have a conversation.
Apex Contract's a cool game.
Hot take from AJ. Apex Contract.
It's cool. It's cool.
It is a cool game. It's a cool game.
Great world.
Yeah.
So I was glad that the video showed off the world of Apex Construct because that's really the best part of it.
I thought the best part was all those damn spiders. But, of course, Cloaked Reaper, thank you very much for submitting that Viewer Takeover introduction. Cloaked Reaper Games, make sure if you want to introduce next week's Viewer Takeover, well, it's more than likely you're going to be able to do it because I think that was the last one in the queue. So make sure you send your short, sweet, seductive Viewer Takeover introduction to withoutparole@gmail.com. Keep in mind that, really, we don't ask very much of you. Like, he was trying to do some editing there and stuff. Really, just turn your cell phone on yourself. Say, hey, my name is Brian Paul the Game Cat. Use your own name, of course. And say welcome to Viewer Takeover. Send it my way withoutparole@gmail.com. That's all we ask. Of course, we want to thank some more people. And the first group of people we want to thank are these people. These people down here. These people who went to patreon.com/withoutparole.
Gays.
And they're giving us $1 or more every single month. And we don't ask a lot. We really, really appreciate all of you. And why would you do it? Because you want to show us that you love us almost as much as we love you.
But that's not the only people we want to thank now, is it, Brian?
It is not, AJ.
We would also like to thank the people that took the lead of Beauty Decay and changed their name to #GameCat something GameCat adjacent, as you like to say. And we have a whopping 4 new Game Cats to welcome into the Game Cat dojo. Starting with Squidward, the Game Cat.
That's SpongeBob, right?
Yes, that
Nice.
is.
It's been a while. It's been a while since I watched SpongeBob, man. But SpongeBob
I never got too into it. I was never a SpongeBob guy.
I never watched it, but it was actually a good show. It was a good
So everybody
cartoon, but
tells me,
I
yeah.
never watched it, but just a little bit.
It was like just a year or two after my time, but I had plenty of significant others that were into it, and so I got sucked in and watched lots of SpongeBob.
Well, I love it when we mesh universes like that. And next up, speaking of that, something I did watch, we've got National Lampoon, the National Game Cat.
Perfect time of year. Well, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It's like Lampoon, obviously.
You got any damn PSVR games? Another one, actually, yeah, National Lampoon actually changed his name. He was already something the Game Cat, but we encourage that. We encourage that rowdiness and just keep changing your name over and over. You'll get a shout out every single week. Hotcakes is proof of that.
Hotcakes dropped the
Finally.
bomb, man. Hotcakes was star of the show every single week. Now it's like, hey, where'd Hotcakes go?
Well, they've got them covered. Next up, we've also got Yan, the Game Wolf VR.
Of course.
Is that the sound of a wolf howling at the moon?
I was actually doing the Bloody Roar voice.
Yeah. Oh my god, that game
Because
was so
Bloody
fun.
Roar, I know, wasn't it? Brian,
Throwing
don't you
people off the
agree?
side of the stage.
No, I saw
breaking
I saw some people defending you in the comments, and I was like, wow,
Damn right.
we
I
got
love all of you.
we got a lot of people wearing some rose tinted glasses, man. That game was hot trash.
I revisited that game. It's awesome. Bloody Roar 1 and 2, still good to this day.
Remind me, Jan was the viewer takeover intro from last week, right? He had
Oh yeah, he had the wolf.
he had
That's
his
right.
very own game wolf introducing the show for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Oh, that was such an adorable dog too. Finally, we've got Techno Gatsby, the game cat.
Techno Gatsby.
I love that. Yeah, that's cool.
I don't know, man.
So futuristic.
He should be the great Techno Gatsby.
Yeah, I like it. It's a good one.
All right.
But Brian, can you tell me what is the point of this show?
No
Nobody
one knows. No one knows. There's no way to find out. So let's just do our best and answer some questions. You can either join our Discord, which you should be doing anyway. That's where we all hang out 24/7, and leave a comment, question, concern in the hashtag viewer takeover channel, or you can just leave a comment underneath any single one of our videos with the hashtag viewer takeover, all one word, and we'll search for it, we'll find it, and then we'll do our best to talk about it and make it an entertaining show. Let me take the first question from now the new star of the show ever since Hotcakes left. Hotcakes is still kicking around, by the way. I see him all the time in the comments. But yeah, or Seek, the game cat. This comes from Discord. He writes hashtag viewer takeover. Do you think those VR games getting a flat patch are hurting VR acceptance, or on the contrary, do you think they ease the transition? We're going toward an ecosystem of flat plus full VR combined games.
So
kind of a loaded
let me
question,
take this one first, because I need you to shed some light on the playing VR games in flat mode, because come to think about it, I don't think I've done that at all. So I don't know anything about that side of it. What I can answer is that I do actually hope, similar to the quality of like Resident Evil 7, that games in the future are released in both flat and VR mode. As like, I think it might not work as well when it's made for the ground up for VR. But I think when a game can kind of just be first person or something like that, maybe not even first person, it can work pretty well. But I do actually hope to see more games in the future be released as both flat and like VR mode, like No Man's Sky. That's the perfect example.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of games that don't work on a flat screen. I'm sure there's plenty of games that don't work in VR. I would like to see on PlayStation 5 the getting, just like Resident Evil 7, you buy one game, you get both versions. And I think you can kind of look at this question two ways, right? You can say, one, if a game like The Persistence is only available in VR, then people look at it and go, man, The Persistence, like that looks like a game I really want to play. I should consider this VR thing. Or the other way of looking at it is by saying, oh look, The Persistence got a patch that makes it playable on the flat screen, which I don't believe that's come out yet. But now I've bought the game without a VR headset. I'm playing it and going, I now own a VR game. I'm curious, if you start accumulating lots of these things, do you suddenly go, oh, I've got like 15 VR games that I bought because there's like a VR mode included in it already. Do I just now it's like I've got a reason to buy a VR headset? So like 6 of 1 maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it seems like it neither really helps or hurts generally. It's sort of a case-by-case basis. So, like, for instance, games like The Persistence, for instance, getting a flat screen patch, I don't think are going to help sell more copies of The Persistence, because that's not on anybody's radar if they don't have a VR headset.
Right.
Whereas the flip side is you have games like Resident Evil 7 where somebody is going to buy it anyways. And then it gets in their head, oh man, how cool would this be if I was in there? And like even with Ace Combat 7, people know, well, I bought this game, but it seems like it'd be really cool to try these VR missions out. Like maybe I should pick up a headset at some point. So I think it works in one direction more than it works in the other direction. I don't think having a VR game that gets a flat patch helps acceptance in any way, really. Maybe they'll sell a few more copies, but generally I don't think that's going to move anything forward. I think big games having VR modes or the VR option is what's going to get people excited. So
Can I add an addendum to this and ask
Sure.
you your opinion on this, AJ and Dave? What do you think that games like Borderlands 2 VR and Skyrim VR, when they come out with a separate full-priced game, a completely separate full-priced release that you have to buy to play it in VR, is that helping anything, or is that only hurting the medium?
It's hard to say because, with No Man's Sky, I feel like they're coming as a developer from a place of like, we want to give everybody stuff for free because we feel like we're making up on our kind of the way people view us, kind of getting back in people's good graces, proving, hey, we're not a shitty dev. We actually do care about your guys' experience and just have this for free.
Yeah.
Whereas Borderlands 2, I mean, Gearbox doesn't need to do that. And so if they spend their time and money developing a VR only version of a game, I can understand charging $30 for it. So it's kind of hard to say, but I think it depends on the case once again.
I got to agree with Dave here. It kind of depends on the case because some games you're like, I don't really care. And then other games like Skyrim, which actually sell a lot, and Doom VFR, which sold a lot, they work. So I think if it's an existing franchise that's already really popular, probably going to work out better than a game that nobody's ever heard of except for in VR, and then trying to adopt a flat screen version of it.
Yeah. All right. So the answer is it's fine. That's what we decided. There's no,
it
don't,
sort of
don't
depends.
worry about it.
doesn't
Everything's
hurt.
fine.
It doesn't hurt, but it doesn't necessarily help in a lot of cases. But in some cases, it really helps. So
All right. Who wants to take the second question?
I'll take the second one. This is from Rhodey the Game Cat. Meow Rhodey, one of our good mods in the Discord and in the YouTube channel.
One of
It
our
says
good mods. We have
viewers.
so many bad ones. We have to point
Yeah,
out.
we got a lot of
Yes.
shitty mods.
Yep.
Nick, that
Niculo.
guy sucks.
We both just, oh, poor Nicola.
Anyways, he says hashtag viewer takeover, hashtag it's a thing. And so with 360-degree treadmills, finger tracking gloves, and stupid smell-o-vision peripherals starting to show up, what do you think will help improve the immersion most in the near future? Also, any cheap tricks you cats use to improve immersion? I use a fan and I hung my cables on the ceiling, which made a huge improvement, especially getting the cable off the floor.
So when I play Skyrim, I like to pull a little kiddie pool and fill it up with ice and just sit in that and play. No, I kind of agree with Rhodey here. There's a fine line between an immersive feature and a gimmick, and a lot of things that come out are gimmicks. A treadmill kind of thing, to me, that's gimmicky.
3D
Finger
rail.
track, smell-o-vision, something like that, of course, would be just a stupid gimmick. But then there are things that do work. Like Brody, I use a fan as well. I don't know if that really improves immersion as does help me just be more comfortable. But to me, the game itself is the way that it's designed is where it's going to have the biggest strength of being more immersive. It's not necessarily gimmicky features. I would like to see a little bit more like hand control and stuff. Like that would be kind of cool. Like lifting your fingers off of the Move controller and it raises your finger. I think that's a cool one. But all this stuff is not really that necessary. The wheel that I have, the T150 Pro, is really nice. But yeah, what about you guys?
I think finger tracking is the one of the stuff he listed here that really does make a difference and will make a difference in the future. Hearing from people who've tried out the index controllers, I think they're called the Knuckles, across the board. I mean, there's something about, in right now, we can sort of have our thumb go down or our forefinger go down in a game and sort of grab like this. But the feeling you get from lifting each finger and having that full range of motion, I think is really going to help, especially once they get the haptics down and stuff, so it feels like you're actually interacting with stuff with your hands instead of a wand that you're controlling like this. I think that's going to be hugely beneficial. As far as, treadmills, smell-o-vision, that stuff, it's not going to catch on ever. It's too expensive. Only super hardcore enthusiasts are going to have it. And it's so much work to go through. I don't want to play a game on a treadmill unless I'm at the gym working out.
Yeah.
And this is one thing where I think of like, remember the Veer Zoom, that bike that came with VR games?
Yeah.
I try to forget.
Well, so actually, I think that's not so for home personal use. I don't think that's going to catch on, but I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we see gyms that once headsets get lightweight and not as sweaty and easier to wear, easier to clean, and stuff like that. I would not be surprised if that was a good motivator for people in a gym to like get through a workout. If you're doing cardio stuff, they've got a little program, you pop it on, and you're inside something that keeps you stimulated, keeps you motivated to keep going. So I think workout stuff could be really cool because people already like using VR to do active things. But once the technology gets a little more user friendly, a little less sweaty, a little less heavy, I think it could be integrated into gyms, like existing gyms. And that would be pretty cool. But at home, I don't see people buying VR treadmills.
I'm going to double down on Rhodey's mention of the fan. I think AJ said it does not sure if it really like helps with immersion. I'm going to say for me, I love the immersion because if I'm on, if I'm playing Farpoint and I've got the aim controller in my hand and there's like dust, blowing off the surface of the planet, like just past me, and I've got a fan also adding to that. That works wonders for me. It's like I know some people use it to help with motion sickness and stuff. I don't really deal with suffer with that, but man, it definitely for me adds to the immersion big time.
Yeah,
I love having the fan on.
To piggyback on that, I think one thing that would be really cool. Do you guys remember the Zephyr? That thing that people were trying to get done through Kickstarter?
The little fans that attach.
Yeah, so it was basically going to tie into each game, and depending on your rate of movement or what's going on in the game, blow faster or slower or stronger or lighter. And so, for instance, like Rush of Blood, you get kind of a slow breeze as you're going up the hill. And then when you come down, you get that whoosh. And I feel like that sort of like a fan that knows what the game's doing would be really, really, really cool. I don't know if it would be affordable enough to catch on, but I think that would add a lot to the immersion.
I think the big thing that this question makes me think about is the two different type of people who play VR games. And I know I've brought this up before, but there are people who are hey, I love video games and this is the next evolution in video games. They put that VR headset on, they're fine playing a DualShock 4 or the Move controllers. It's like, hey, yeah, I'm playing a video game, but now it's like more immersive because I've got a VR headset on. And then there's a type of people who are like, this needs to be as realistic as possible. This virtual reality needs to be fucking real. And I'm like, I don't identify with those gamers, but they exist and I get it. They're saying this is I need a steering wheel, which I agree with them. I mean, that talk about adding to the immersion when you're using a steering wheel in a driving game, absolutely. But there are just so many things like that. People who want to use the treadmill, right? These are people who want this to be. I'm walking in a game, so I want to walk in real life.
Yeah, I can't get behind that personally.
No,
I'm not a fan, but
I don't want room scale. I want to be able to have the best tracking possible, of course, but I don't want to be able to run around my room. That's not going to make a game better. I like standing still in one spot and having things that still make it feel like I'm running around and going wherever I want, and buttons to turn or joysticks to turn, something like that. I definitely don't care about room scale tracking.
There's some experiences where I think room scale does really work in a different way than what we were talking about. Like, I can't remember the name of it, but there's this developer who made kind of as a proof of concept of room scale, this game where there's like laser beams, like you're a spy getting around laser beams and you have to like crawl under stuff.
Right.
And I feel like that's a cool concept because it's still a fixed space, but it's more like a obstacle course that you go through with your body instead of like I'm jogging in place to move my character, or I walk this way and then I turn around and walk the other way. Like some versions of room scale aren't that exciting, but I think if with the right concept, room scale can be used really well. I don't have nearly enough room to do that in my house, but
I agree. I just want it to stay as close to being just playing on a controller as possible and being immersed in the world and being in there and just having the same really slick gameplay experience, but not having to do cartwheels in my room.
I'm with you guys.
Yeah,
I don't need room scale. Like if PSVR 2 came out and it was like just there's no room scale, I'd be fine with it. But then there's things like T for God on Quest that I was like, oh, this really does kind of as a proof of concept show that if you get a small play space, there's very cool things you can do with it. And forcing yourself it was very, very, I can only imagine it was made by a couple dudes at most. but there was something about having to step into like, oh, here's a ledge, and I'm if I had a controller in my hand, I wouldn't be terribly scared of falling off of it. But when I have to move my own feet to kind of shuffle across the ledge, it does add something to that. It does add something to the immersion and to my fear of already fear of heights that it just kind of added to.
Little bit, but then I go and play Sirento, where I'm jumping up in the air and doing backflips in slow motion and
Nobody
shooting
wants
people, and then I suddenly forget about T for God or whatever it was called.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think the one thing I do like is kind of ducking and crouching and dodging, that kind of stuff. I just want enough room to be able to do that, like dodging, like Blaster of the Universe, dodging bullets when I was crouching behind boxes in Immortal Legacy, stuff like that is what I like to be able to do. But that doesn't require a whole lot of space. That doesn't require 10 feet by 10 feet. That just requires like maybe just 5 feet or so.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm not totally on board with that always. Like there are times when I just want a crouch button, like Crisis Brigade is a
But
really
see,
good
then put a
example of
crouch
this.
button as well for
options are
options.
good.
Yeah, because in Time Crisis style games, the ducking was just you putting your foot down for a second, and it was a huge part of the game because it was so easy to do. But when you require somebody, if you use that format and then you switch out the little button you push with your foot for, hey, you got to crouch with your body every fucking time, that changes the feeling of the gameplay so much that I don't necessarily like it. But
I would definitely.
sometimes it can be
I agree
fun.
with you having the option, and we've come full circle to what I originally said. It depends on how the game is designed to have the most immersive features and stuff like that. Being able to physically crouch or just press a button, even pressing a button to crouch can be fully immersive.
All right. I think we got to move on to our last question of the day.
Okay, and the last one comes via Merm Ants from
name.
the top 20 list of September, and says and by the way, Merm Ants, there is a new December list. Go check it out. It's good. I liked it. The only thing I don't like about videos that preview PSVR games here on YouTube is that the live action screenshots we see in the video are not truly representative of the quality of the graphics we see through the headset. What videos like this one show is what is actually playing on the TV screen, which it really is nothing like the VR headset view. It gives false impression. However, I do understand that it's very difficult, perhaps impossible, to show the true quality through the headset itself. So when they say live action screenshots, I imagine they're talking about the social output screen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, it's tricky because sometimes it's not fully representative. They are correct. It usually looks maybe even a little cleaner on the social output screen. However, usually if a game is pretty blurry and janky, you can see it pretty well at times. Some games, they are much better at doing that social screen, but others, like even before Touring Carts got the patch, and I recorded footage with the social screen, it was very like you could see all the aliasing and stuff in there, so you can kind of tell, and just from the amount of detail and stuff like that, it'd probably have a bigger effect of hiding if there's bad resolution on the game. It'd probably likely not see that as well, but aliasing definitely shows up.
One thing I kind of want to clarify here too is he says videos that preview PSVR games here on YouTube.
I'm guessing it's a lost in translation thing.
Not truly representative of the quality. And what I think he's talking about is actually what he thinks it is what's playing on the TV screen. But when they put out previews of games, trailers of games, they're not using the social feed. They're using a totally different recording that was often done on a PC, running at a higher spec, or something like that. That's why the graphics look better. So if you see a really swanky looking VR trailer, and then in VR it's not looking that good, if you popped your headset off and looked at the TV, you wouldn't see what you see in that trailer. It's not going to look that crisp anyways.
Yeah.
Because
flat screen games do that too.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much any game, they're using some kind of like best quality possible export to give you like what it could look like, what it
also
to get you an idea. But
it'll also sometimes have a little thing that says reformatted for display.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They do say that as well sometimes, as to not totally misrepresent games, but some games don't put that in there. They're like, "Oh, screw it," Make it
That's
look as
the-
because you're trying to sell a product. You don't want to show it off that it looks like ass if it does.
Well, yeah. The other thing too is even if it doesn't look like ass in the headset, comparatively, if they showed the social screen view or the VR headset view, it wouldn't look nearly as good to people in the market.
Right.
So
right.
you want to get people in the door with that good-looking, snappy version of what you got. That's just marketing in general.
When
like
you
you're
see
saying,
when
it's-
you see a billboard for a fast food sandwich or something, and it looks
never
like it's
Yeah.
it looks like all juicy and succulent, and then you go there and you're like, you get one and you're like, this doesn't look anything. It's just
Yeah.
marketing, man. It's just marketing.
It's also totally possible that that Mermance doesn't have a PS4 Pro, and so it looks a lot different to him. He's seeing games that are either captured footage on the PlayStation 4 Pro, and then he's seeing a significant downgrade when he's putting on the VR headset on an OG PS4. But I'm gonna agree with him in the worst possible way by saying he says it gives a false impression. I 100% agree it gives a false impression because no flat screen video will ever convey the amount of immersion that a VR headset adds. So yeah, maybe on the video, maybe on the TV, it looks a little sharper, maybe a little more detailed, but in the headset, it's infinitely more immersive. And there's nothing. So it's a very false impression, and I think for the worse. Like if there was some way we could see what it looked like in the headset when watching a television screen, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of any way you would do that.
No,
though, because
right.
you're representing a freeform medium where the camera goes wherever the player looks. And so putting that in a trailer, I mean, are you going to have a trailer where I can experience the full 360 space in 3D with my face?
No.
Because that you couldn't do a traditional trailer in that
I'm not
way.
looking for a solution here. I'm just saying that I do agree that it gives a false impression, but in the alternate sense that it gives a worse impression. He's saying, oh, it looks so much better than it does in the headset. I'm like, no, because of the immersion and the depth that a VR headset adds, it actually looks so much better in the headset. I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of that visual fidelity, the rough edges, and maybe the resolution or whatever, because the immersion factor is so high. And so I'm saying, yeah, it gives a horrible impression to people who aren't familiar with VR headsets.
There's an old saying my pappy used to tell me.
Oh God.
Back in the day, and he used to say,
Back in St.
"Flat
Olaf?
screen just never does VR justice, son." And I was like, "Yes, Papa."
Wait,
All right.
Dave, we'll get Polish Paul in here next week.
Yeah, sure. I wouldn't mind.
Get out.
All right, guys. I think that does it for another episode of Viewer Takeover. Thank you very much, Dave and AJ, for hanging out with me and taking down these questions one by one. Thank you to everybody who watched. Thank you to everybody who changed their name to GameCat. Remember, hashtag GameCat in the comments below if you changed your name to GameCat and you want a shout out on next week's show. Remember, we don't have any Viewer Takeover introductions, so if you want to introduce next week's Viewer Takeover, the likelihood is very high that you can do it. Send your short, sweet, seductive, saucy introduction to withoutparole@gmail.com. Also, make sure you join that Discord server. And, dude, Happy New Year, everybody. This is New Year's Eve. And I hope everyone out there is having a good time.
Wait, is it?
and
Is
being
it New
safe.
Year's Eve?
When this airs,
It
it
is
will
New Year's
absolutely
Eve.
be New Year's Eve.
I thought tomorrow. Oh, when it airs, would be New Year's. I got so confused. I was like, "What day is it?" Son of a bitch!
Stop
What are we gonna
breaking
do
the
with you,
fucking
Dave?
fourth wall, man.
Wait, you're watching right now? There's people watching?
Everybody have a fun night, but please be safe. We want to make sure that everyone comes
definitely.
right back here on the new year, on the 1st, just as happy and healthy as you were. Well, maybe slightly more hungover, but just as happy and healthy as you were on the 31st. All right, guys. We'll definitely. I'll see you guys soon. We're gonna tackle all the games coming to PlayStation VR in 2020 on next week's episode of PSVR Gamescast Live. It's gonna be another epic show. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, AJ. Thank you, Cats. My name is Brian, and we're out. I feel like
AJ, are you ready?
See.
he's got like this stoic pose. He's just, I'm ready when I'm ready.
I'm out of it today.
Dude, I've been out of it for a week.